Hello everyone. So I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to the first virtual session of 2025, and it's going to be on gaining product experience and transitioning into product management. So we have a great speaker with us today, Vinod Thomas. Uh, a short introduction about Vinod is he's a product manager at Google right now, and previously he has worked at Uber, Groupon, and Amazon, which solidifies his experience and makes him a perfect person to help us navigate the product path. And he'll be helping us to understand some insights and share his experience as he transitioned into product management. So, without any further ado, let's dive and try to gain valuable insights from Vinod. So, it will be a conversation or a discussion type of format for this event. I'll be asking few questions to Vinod, and maybe if you have any questions, doubts, feel free to add it in comments. We will highlight it and make sure that Vinod is answering those questions. So, yeah, let's get started. So, Vinod, first question would be like, can you just help us to share a bit about your background at initially drove you to product management?
Sure. Thanks, Brunang. First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to your viewers. It's always good to share my experience with people who aspire to be product managers. So my background is quite diverse. So currently, I am a product manager at Google, specifically in Google's Display and Video 360 team, which is an enterprise demand side platform. And I specifically manage the connected TV business within this team. So, like I said, my background is quite diverse. I started off with a foundation in engineering and analytics. But early on in my career, I worked in the oil and gas industry in India. And my primary responsibility there was to ensure fuel supply to a large metropolitan area. So, this
Mhm,
role was not necessarily a tech role, but it gave me a deep understanding of various complex logistical challenges and working with people. And it was in 2013, I think, when Amazon launched in India. And I was inspired by Jeff Bezos. And he had this framework called regret minimization framework. And that's what, the framework is technically like what he tries to say is that you project yourself to 70 years or 80 years of age and you think backwards and you think about decisions and decisions that you took and decisions that you did not take and evaluate which of them you regret. And
mhm,
that was probably like that was a fair framework that motivated me to move to the US to pursue my master's and then explore new career paths.
mhm,
And after I came to the US, I worked at Amazon as an intern, which was my first entry into the tech industry. This was followed by experiences at Groupon and Uber, again tech companies. And Uber, I was working in Uber Freight, which is specifically a very high growth environment. I led a team of analysts where we constantly experimented, and it gave me a lot of insights into data driven decision making. So, what I wanted to convey here is that like these roles really exposed me to the world of product management
mhm,
without having the title of product manager. And
mhm,
I was really drawn into the ownership, the problem solving, and strategic thinking that this role is all about. So my journey to product management wasn't a straight line, but
mhm.
this was a path driven by the desire to build and own impactful solutions. So as a product manager, I think we are builders, we are decision makers, and the owners of product vision. So this resonated deeply with my desire to lead and have greater impact, and that's why I'm here. Yeah.
So yeah, that basically gives a kick to a product manager because the decision that we take or the strategies that we plan is going to impact a lot of people. So the companies you mentioned like Amazon, Uber, or Google
Mhm.
now as well. So whenever you are taking a decision, we have that thing in mind. Okay, it's going to impact millions and billions of people. So that makes you think twice or thrice that okay, we have to make sure that all the edge cases we have taken care of, and all that gives you an kind of happiness kind of thing that okay, I
Mhm.
have to do it, and gives you a sidekick that okay, let's do it, and empowers your team as well as so. it's really great to listen about your experience and how you transitioned from oil and gas industry to slightly entering into tech, starting with Amazon, Groupon,
Yeah.
Uber, and now Google. So,
Yes.
how did you gain relevant product experience before officially becoming a product manager?
Yeah, so I think, when you think about product management, it's
Mm-hmm,
it's not just about the title. So I see product management as a field more than the title of a product manager. So it's more about
mm-hmm,
skills and the mindset of a product leader. And even before I officially got my PM title, I actively sought opportunities to gain relevant experience. So again, I want to stress that you don't need to have the title of a product manager to gain expertise in the field of product management. I reached out to PMs, after I got into the tech industry. I reached out to
mm-hmm,
PM engineers and designers who used to work in those teams to understand how they work. So I genuinely took an interest to understand how these teams functioned. And beyond my day-to-day work, I was very intentional about skill development. So I early on recognized that product management is a very competitive field. And you might have seen, like, there are very few roles out there for product managers. So unless you have like a relevant experience and you showcase your expertise in that field, it's tough to get the title on your resume. So I partnered closely with product teams within my companies, often taking on projects that didn't have the bandwidth to work on, or they
mm-hmm,
do prioritize. So you go to a product team, there are often hundreds of ideas and features that are requested by various teams, and they don't have the bandwidth to work on all of those. Many of them get deprioritized. So that's a good opportunity for someone who wants to learn the field of product management to go
mm-hmm.
offer your help. And then, like, you can put yourself there as a product manager and work on real problems and gain that expertise in the field of product management. And as I did that, I was also able to use these skills in my day-to-day work and, showing more
Mm-hmm.
ownership and building my expertise in this field, and eventually gaining the trust from leadership um, in my ability as a product manager. So I focused on the skill sets, and I try to focus on developing like specific skills like customer empathy, strategic thinking, effective communication, which are all the foundations of a good product manager and product leadership. So I think the combination of this practical experience um, and these transferable skills was what helped me like eventually get the product title. So again, my journey is a testament to the statement that, like, you don't need to have a product manager title to learn to be a product manager.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on skill development, focus on problem solving, leadership, and developing deep customer empathy. And as you hone these skills, the right opportunity will come your way. And then you can get into that field formally when that opportunity comes to you. Yeah.
Well said. Like the skills you mentioned were really on point, to the point. Customer empathy is one of the most important skills, team building, leadership, because you have to take on decisions. You have to, as we discussed earlier as well, we have to take decisions which are going to impact masses of people. So, next question is related to the skills that you mentioned. So,
Mhm.
how important is it to work cross-functionally to develop product skills, and how did you approach it, like talking with
Mhm.
the design team, talking with the engineering team, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth? Yeah.
I think very good question, because as a product manager, I think one main, I think, challenge or a disadvantage of a product manager is that you don't these teams don't report to you,
Mm-hmm,
and you don't have direct authority over your stakeholders. So cross-functional collaboration is basically the backbone of product management. So while we don't have direct authority over, say, engineering, design, or marketing teams, it's very important to align these stakeholders and drive consensus and make them follow your path towards a common goal. So I think it's very important to take a conscious effort to understand how
mm-hmm,
these teams work, understand their challenges, like what are engineering roadblocks, what are some of the different design trade-offs that a designer has to go through, what are some of the business and financial challenges that, say, a business team has to work through. So when you know these, you kind of like understand how to work better with these teams, and you understand their
mm-hmm,
problems, so you can communicate better with them, but also have this collaborative environment where maybe you help them in certain areas and you build that influence over time. And as you do this, you build better working relationships, because after all, it's people that get things done for you.
Yeah.
And when you have these good relationships built, it's much easier to work with folks. It's, it comes to a stage where it's no longer business priorities or like, goals and deadlines. It's more about,
Hmm.
hey, this product man, I like this guy. Let's just maybe follow what he's doing. He is proven to do the right thing for the company. So if he's telling that this is important, let's just go ahead and do it. So I think that building the trust and having the good working relationships comes over time. So I think cross-functional collaboration is extremely important, and it also helps you in your long-term career path also, right?
Hmm.
Like you're building good relationships. These are networks that you build, and that will stay with you for many years down the road. So yeah.
Yeah, so because all the PM roles that we see, all the job descriptions which are related to product roles, everyone has this key skill into that cross-functional leadership, cross-functional collaboration. So I strongly believe that, as you mentioned, connecting with people, having a good network with them really helps long term. And that's what we have seen. There is a good saying as well, your network is your net worth, which is
Mhm.
really like one of the great sayings. So yeah, thanks for helping us understand how you can gain product experience. So
Mhm.
maybe now we can dive into the second part of transitioning to product management. So we'll just like dive deep
Yeah.
into how you can transition into product roles. So according to you, what was one of the biggest challenge you faced while you
Mhm.
transitioned into product management?
So I think, for me, when I got into tech, I saw that, the biggest features and the product direction was all defined by product teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very like, I felt that was a very flashy field, and I wanted to like really get into that without like really knowing what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think initially I did not know this field very well. And as I learned more about this field, I understood the challenges of these, like, the responsibility that comes with it. You touched upon it, right? Like you may be dealing with like millions of users and users across the globe in different
Mm-hmm.
cultures and regions. There are many different challenges that a product manager has to go through. But from someone who's looking from outside, this looks like a flashy role. It pays really well. It's kind of seen as one of the, like, top roles in a tech company. So there's a lot of demand for that, but understanding this role in depth and making sure that it's a field that you really want to get into is very important. So as I did that, I think I first tried to go talk to teams to see if there's an opportunity to like work as a product manager. I understood the biggest challenge with doing that is overcoming something that I call as experience paradox.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is that like most PM roles need direct work experience, and someone who doesn't have that experience finds it very difficult to become a product manager. So now your obstacle is to develop that PM experience. And to navigate this, I focused on getting actual product experience. And this is where I was talking about, like, where I started working on projects that didn't have bandwidth to be worked on or deprioritized. And I really gained those expertise. Uh, and as I did that, like, I built trust around the product teams as well. So they saw me doing those roles without having the titles. They saw the outcomes. They saw how I showcase different skills required as a product manager, and I was able to build that trust. Another key challenge, like when you come from other roles, is to move away from this execution style of mindset to a strategic mindset. Because as a product manager, you need to learn to prioritize different problems, define long-term roadmaps, and think in terms of customer. But many other teams that you work with are focused on certain areas, and they're laser focused on that. So you more into execution in that particular area. They don't see the big picture. So as a product manager, like taking a step back and understanding the big picture, and moving to a strategic thinking kind of a responsibility is what's very important. So I think these are a couple of challenges that I felt, and I was able to navigate this by like actually like working on the job in the field of product management.
So yeah, like as you mentioned, you
Mhm.
have to move your focus from being execution focused to strategy focused things. So it's really good because what I've seen is a lot of people, as you clearly mentioned, that it's a flashy role to see. It's a flashy role, a title,
Mhm.
because everyone nowadays wants to be a PM, and we can understand that people are more involved into, because with the help of AI, with the help of Gen AI, a lot
Mhm.
of development things are taken care by AI itself. So maybe people are more interested into having more strategy focused mindset.
Mhm.
So a lot of people think, okay, as a product manager, it's just about maybe uh, I don't know, they might have that concept of instructing the developers that okay, this needs to be done, and which is actually a job title of a project manager, we can say.
Mhm.
And there are few diagrams on internet that describes that okay, product management is basically a combination of all three groups. You have to focus on customer, you have to focus on the features, because the user is the end goal of being a product
Mhm.
manager. We have to make the user happy. So we
Right.
have to, as you mentioned, prioritization is one of the key skills that you have to focus on, that customer
Mhm.
empathy and getting user feedback and converting it, translating it into product requirements, product
Exactly.
improvements that we have to do. So yeah, that's a good thing. And next, I wanted to ask, did you take any specific courses or certifications or side projects which enhanced your PM skills?
Yeah. I think I did not like in my case I didn't pursue any formal certifications.
Mm-hmm.
I engaged in self learning, and my goal
Mm-hmm.
was to build real hands on experience
Mm-hmm.
uh, through working on product problems
Mm-hmm.
and actually thinking like a product manager in my role. So I owned my area of work within different companies that I worked in, and I tried to like showcase the field of product management in my current work. So I think that's how I gained experience there. But I think there are various courses out there that helps you understand how product managers work. The certifications out there. Um, Personally, I am not a proponent of certifications because,
Mm-hmm.
like, when you are interviewing for a role or when you're trying to get into a role, I'm not sure how important a certification comes becomes like to get the job. It's more of how you're able to showcase your experience and your skills as a product manager that comes into play. So I think focusing on developing those skills would be what I'd recommend prospective uh, students and professionals who want to get into product management to
Mm-hmm.
do. I think when I say that, like I want to touch upon maybe like one book that has really helped me. It's not a product book per se. It's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's by Dale Carnegie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mentioned before that, product managers have to work collaboratively across different stakeholders, and you need to influence them to have a shared vision and take your vision forward. And this book has really helped me. Like, I don't think this is a product book, but like it really helped me as a product manager to build those good relationship and then influence people. So I'd recommend everyone in any industry to read this because you can like use ideas in this book to become a better collaborator in
Mm-hmm.
your work. Yeah.
Sure. Just coming upon one of the points you mentioned, showcasing PM skills through whatever, like in your case, you basically showed product skills based on what work you did and
Mhm.
being more strategic focused. So for students or for people who just are getting started into their
Yeah.
career,
Yeah.
so can they show product skills in their internships maybe, or in their side projects that they have built, that okay, we have taken care of, maybe we collected a user feedback and then we just translated those user feedback into product improvements that we can do in our project, reiterated upon it, and showcase those things as a PM skill in their maybe interview or anything.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I think those are definitely things that they can do. But I
Mm-hmm.
think you should be very aware of the opportunities that are open for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience as a product manager. So
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, like an entry level product position is this associate product manager position,
Yeah.
and those are very limited in number. So very few students who get into that. So being open to getting into a non-product role in a tech company first,
Mm-hmm.
and then working your way towards product management from there is a more viable path for many folks, and it worked for me. So I think if you don't get your first product role right out of college, don't be discouraged, because if that's really something that you want to pursue, you can definitely build your skills there and showcase your expertise and get there. So that'll be my recommendation. But as you said, definitely your projects in your university where you're shown these leadership skills, there could be hackathons where you participated, where you've really built products, and you
Mm-hmm.
navigate the direction of a team that was building this product. So those are real experiences that you could showcase, but it may not be enough to obtain like a
Okay.
product role because of the
Mm-hmm.
responsibility that is generally associated with this role.
Okay. So we have one question here in the comments. What is or our thought process or approach to develop a strategic mindset in product management? Could you share a scenario or a situation?
All right. So I think to think about a strategic mindset, I think you'll have to like stay away from day-to-day tasks, and understand, if you're working on a product, what is the overall goal of this product. So let's say you're working on a social media tool, and the objective of that goal is to connect people with other people and share seamlessly. You get into the higher level vision of what that product is supposed to do, and think through more about what that product needs to do to excel in that field. You take
Mm-hmm.
customer feedback into play, and you look at your competitors as well, and see what's happening in the industry, and then evaluate like what better that product needs to do to go forward in its vision and strategy. So I think that's a way to think away from daily execution goals. So typically as an engineer, or as an analyst, you are given goals to do. Okay, analyze this, build a dashboard of this way, in this way, that showcases data for certain thing. But think from the perspective of like what to build, and like why are you building it, like what would you learn from building this dashboard, what kind of metrics would help you understand the problem that you're solving. So taking a little bit more back step and looking at it from a bird's eye view to see the overall picture is what I think is strategic thinking. And it's also like, if you look at as a product manager, there are different levels of managers. As you start off as a product manager, it's more of execution. So the strategy may be already set. There may be areas that have been defined as areas that you need to work on, so you go ahead and execute on those areas by writing product requirements, working with engineering to execute those. But as you grow into a more leadership role, then you get into the strategy of the product, and then try to execute on the strategy and build that vision that others can go ahead and kind of execute for you.
Mm-hmm. I just had this one doubt, like in a product role, for example, if there's a product, there
Mhm.
are multiple features in that product, right? So
Yeah.
are there chances that a product is having different user metrics basically? For example, as you mentioned, there is a social media platform that we have been building, and there are different user metrics that we have to keep a look on as a whole product. And
Mhm.
for a particular feature, there might be some different metrics that we are targeting, and a PM for that particular feature would be working strictly on those, considering those metrics to improve,
Yes.
and that as a whole would contribute to the entire metrics that we have been focusing on a product, right?
Yes. Yes.
So there
Definitely. I
are
think.
chances for that.
Yeah. Let's think about like a product, right? Like that has a strategy, and the goal of it is to bring X amount of revenue over the year,
Hmm.
and grow users from this much to this much. That's
Hmm.
the overall company goal. And there are multiple product managers working under that to build
Hmm.
various features that will eventually tie into that goal. So
Hmm.
one feature of say a product manager working on would be to maybe like build efficiency in something, maybe build latency in the product, making that like a page loads faster. So it's not
Uh-huh.
exactly the same metric that is measuring the success of the company, but
Mhm.
it all ties into that. Like when you improve
Yeah.
efficiency, when you improve latency, you get more efficient usage of the product, which means there are more users signing up, more users
Mhm.
using it. So it influences the main
Yeah.
main product goals as well. So yeah, that's how it's generally done.
Mhm. So basically, I had this question for you, like what strategies did you use to land your first PM role? So as you mentioned earlier in this conversation that you tried to showcase your product experience in other non-tech role, and
Hmm.
then you transition into product management role. But what uh, maybe suggestion would you give to someone who wants to transition into a PM role now?
Yeah, so I think building skills is definitely there. Like you need to
Mhm.
constantly build your experience there. But I think one of the most important things that helped me is my network.
Mhm.
I think I tried to network very well within my companies that I worked in, and also like when there was potential opportunities to get into to get the title of product management, I networked with product leadership who that really like makes those calls on who to hire and when to hire. So and showcase my work to them to like build
Mhm.
that trust. So I think networking is super important. I connected with a lot of PMs and hiring managers to make them like recall me like my face when they thought about a new role, and I was constantly followed up and built these genuine connections where I was genuinely interested in what they were doing, and I was focusing on like how I could contribute to their area of work and how they could benefit from me. So I think that network really helped me. And then skill development, storytelling. So whenever you network, you need to like showcase your skill and tell a story. Like I had these real experiences from my past experiences in the field of product management that I could talk to them about. And then in my case, like what specifically happened was with these networking and like that influence building, while I didn't get the title of a product manager, I got this opportunity to work within a PM team. So I wasn't a
Mhm.
PM with title, but I was within a product team. So that was a wonderful opportunity for me to like really work on product problems and then like show what I'm able to do. And when they saw me doing that, uh, there was an opportunity for me to convert as a PM. So I think that's what happened, and I'm sure this is very common across tech companies because there are more than enough things to do in product teams, and they're often like don't have enough resources. So any help that they can get from folks who are interested in this would be useful. So tapping that opportunity and getting there and offering a helping hand is the way to go here, I feel.
Okay, that was an amazing answer. That answered my doubt. So
Yeah.
we have new question. What's your view on transitioning into a PM into a different industry role from a tech role, which is in cybersecurity? So does it help to be from the same industry, or it doesn't matter?
So I think it helps you to be, if you're in the same industry, there's like relatable knowledge, like real domain knowledge that you can bring, and then get into a similar field and be a PM in that field. But it also is not absolutely necessary because there are a lot of transferable skills, right? Like if you just look at uh, like any role, like communication and collaboration are key skills,
Mhm.
and technical knowledge is another key skill that many engineers have, and showing that you can use these transferable skills in the new industry, or showing examples of how you use these skills and how you tie that to your new role will be sufficient for you to get into a new industry. And that's very common. Like even if you look at like a big tech company, um, there are different areas within that company. Like there are media products, there are advertising products, there are like say enterprise products, and people often move within these fields often because like sometimes they want to do something different. So you try to showcase your transferable skills and your like real interest in what you want to get to do, what you want to do. And if that rapport is being, you can build that rapport with the hiring team that you want to get into. I think you can definitely get there. But like if you want to be a PM, if you're an engineer within cybersecurity and you want to be a PM within cybersecurity, the path is easier and faster. But I don't think it's absolutely necessary uh, to move within the same industry. But you can always consider other industries as well if you really want to do that and explore different industries.
Perfect. Last few questions. One is, what are some misconceptions about breaking into product management that you would like to debunk?
So I think one of the first things that I thought, like when I was exploring this field, was like you need an MBA or you need a technical
Hmm.
degree to become a product manager, and that was not true. And like I realized this, like when I looked at a lot of people who are working in this field, I started like observing them, and a lot of folks did not even have degrees, and many of them did not have technical degrees. So I think at the core, it's more about like problem solving and communication, having those customer thinking on behalf of customer and translating those
Hmm.
problems into projects that can be um, worked on to help customers is what's more important. um, I think we touched upon, like, there's another misconception that I think, like, we touched upon this before on like getting into a PM directly from college or university. uh, Usually associate product manager is the way folks get into that. But like I said, you don't need to start as a PM to grow as a PM, so you can have lateral moves. So it's definitely possible to do it from engineering, design, marketing teams, or even non-technical teams as well, like the one I did. um, and you don't always need to learn to build products from scratch. So it's
Hmm.
product management is always not like 0 to 1. You don't need to like start from non-existent product. I think that's a misconception that you can be a product manager if you only have that experience. I know there are roles that ask for that experience, but
Yeah.
there are many products that needs to be sustained, and the big products that are functioning and being used by hundreds of thousands of users. So maintaining those products, building new features within that, updating those products to meet new standards and customer requirements all need PMs. So I think that's another misconception that I think is wrong. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. What resources, maybe one book you mentioned, How to Influence
Yeah.
and Influence People. Uh, is there any other book or any podcast communities that you would like to recommend for aspiring product managers?
Yeah, I think the one that I mentioned, How to Win Friends, Influence
Hmm.
People, it's not a product book, but it's something that I
Yeah.
recommend people to read through to understand
Hmm.
how to influence people. Another one, which is again not a product book, which I found very useful, is Financial Intelligence. The title of the book is called A Manager's Guide to, I think, knowing knowing what numbers really mean. So
Okay.
this book is mainly about like building the financial intelligence, because as a product manager, often your work is often measured through impact, and impact often ties to like dollar value and
Yeah.
the financial aspect of it.
Hmm.
So understanding that language and communicating with leadership and finance teams is very important. And like when you know how to communicate in terms of finance, then you kind of again build trust there, and then
Hmm.
you can kind of like plan what your metrics are and efficiently understand how your product ties into the P&L, income statement, and what it contributes to and what the risks are there. So I think that's a good
Hmm.
book to read and understand as well.
Oh.
From product podcast standpoint,
Hmm.
um, there's a podcast called Product Voices by JJ Rory.
Hmm.
It's a good podcast to listen to. Uh, she tries to bring in folks from different backgrounds, both from people who are getting into product management to really experienced folks. So there's a wide variety of knowledge there that you can gain from that podcast. Um, then a podcast that I find very useful. So it may be not entirely useful for new students who are getting into product management. It's called the Skip Podcast by Nikhil Single. It's more focused on product leadership. So when
Hmm.
you're like a little bit more experienced as a product manager, how to get into will be more strategic, and then understanding how to navigate those like leadership product positions. This podcast is very helpful in that standpoint.
Okay.
I also listen to Shreyas Doshi a
Yeah.
lot on YouTube. I think there are short videos of him that help
Hmm.
us, that are very like impactful and useful, that you can apply to
Yeah.
your day roles, which I recommend. And from community standpoint, I think Mind the Product is a good community to be
Hmm.
part of. You see a lot of articles there, discussions there from product folks, which may be useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I listened to one of the podcasts by Shreyas Doshi. So he shares his frameworks as well, which he used at some other
Yes. Yes.
companies. So it's really helpful to understand what kind of frameworks he used at those organizations and that have laid good impact into those organizations. So yeah, thank you so much for helping our aspiring product managers and people who are already PMs and want to succeed in the role. So
Mhm.
thank you so much, Vinod, for your time. It was really great to have you with us. And we would like to share a few things. Okay, we have one question. Sorry. Also, could you suggest any specific product case studies that would give a deeper and broader perspective to learn strategically that you might have studied about recently?
I have to think about this to
Mhm.
recommend like a specific product case study. But like when I was like trying to get into this, I Google was my friend, and I specifically learned the case study of how YouTube grew as a business,
Mhm.
how it started sharing revenue with its content creators and build a business around it. I think there are case studies on this that you could read through, so you think like understand how it was thought through from the very beginning and how it formed the backbone of the product, and it went from there. But it was like very early on in my career that I read through that, I believe.
Perfect. So thank you so much once again, and we would like to request all the viewers to please join the community. Make sure to connect with other people. As we not mentioned, network can be helpful, so you can find other aspiring product managers as well. Join our Discord community. The link is in the description as well as on the slider. So you can connect with other aspiring PMs, share your resources, what you have been learning. You can maybe share case studies as well, as Vinod mentioned. If you are reading, going through a case study, you can share that as well on our Discord server. So thank you everyone for joining us. The video will be there on YouTube. So if you need some book recommendations that Vinod mentioned, you can just go and watch the video once again. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day. See you in the next one.
Thank you all.
Bye.